The city of Kyiv came under a massive Russian drone attack in the early hours of today, with the mayor of the town and other officials reporting strikes on widely separated residential districts. According to the Kyiv mayor, the drone had hit a block of flats in the Solomansky district south of the city center, triggering a fire. He also reported a drone strike on a private house in Donetsky districts in the eastern bank of the Dnieper River that runs through the city. One person was injured in that attack. Let's get more on this as we bring in the VOA's correspondent, Anna Chernikova. Anna, great to see you today. What more can you tell us regarding this drone attack on Kyiv?
Good evening. Well, it was probably one of the loudest nights in Kyiv for the past weeks, despite the fact that drone attacks and missile attacks were happening and were targeting Kyiv. But I should say that the damage that we see this time and what Kyiv citizens experienced this time was quite scary. So around midnight, the sound of drone, I heard personally the sound of drone, and basically the drone passed by my apartment building, and in about a minute or so, it was quite a loud sound of an explosion. I'm living not so far from the area where the debris fall was reported, and at this point we know that a residential building was hit with the debris, and apparently the drone was quite close to the land, so it was not very high. Because again, when I heard the sound, it sounded like it's just passing by the window, and I should say that this probably also caused. This was the reason, and this caused this damage, because when it was destroyed, a lot of debris reached the residential building. There are apartments damaged, some almost completely destroyed. We know about at least 2 people injured, and also, as you correctly said, in another neighborhood in the private sector, also one residential building private building was also damaged heavily.
Right, and so tell us more, about your experience. It must be, unnerving for it to be so close to call. What about your neighbors? What's the mood like in your area? This is really close to home.
It's of course it's always high risk, and it's always nervous, especially when drones or debris of the drones reach areas around. Our apartment building, a lot of people took the shelter, especially those with children. Personally, my family, of course, we took the child first to a safe place, then we joined the child there as well, just to make sure that we can, at least, control what's happening at certain point. Pets got very scared as well, because the sound of explosions that was heard was really, really loud, and even I can explain it as it was a little shaking, so like when you have a volcano or something like this erupting. So basically, it's very dangerous in terms of the fact that not just the drone is the risk, but also the debris of this drone. And my family went to the shelter as soon as we heard the sound of the drone, because previous attacks, it's always so Kyiv citizens and in general, citizens of Ukraine are checking information from the Air Force, and Air Force usually inform which direction the drone is coming from. and then you can analyze if your area would be under the air defense action or not. And if it is, it's definitely the best way is definitely to go to the shelter. So we just followed the instructions, and this time our apartment building was safe. But again, it was a scary night.
Right, so I do feel, really shaken for you as well, but clearly for that scary moment when you heard the drone come close to your window. But give us an update on, the weather situation and how people are coping, especially with the barrage of missiles and critical infrastructure being hit. Is there any critical infrastructure that has gone down in recent days, and how are people coping, especially in this, very cold period?
Well, the weather is indeed cold. I can say that it's not the coldest winter in Ukraine's history for sure. So at this point, the weather is pretty much comfortable. But as well as if we compare the same period of time with previous year, there is no electricity outages across the country. So there are outages happening, especially some local outages when drones or missiles or debris hit infrastructure, because this is happening, but not at the extent that it was last year. Ukrainian air defense, thanks to the help from the allies and all the equipment, and especially air defense equipment, it is working. This is for sure. We can see it from the situation with critical infrastructure. So there is no outages at the extent it was last year, but some regions suffer more than others, because it depends on the location, of course. And recently there were some outages in Odessa region after the attack. Also outages happening, of course, in the Kherson region in the east, where hostilities are quite high and intensive. So in general, this winter, at least at this point, feels easier in terms of energy situation than it was than the previous one, than it was last year. For now, I can say that people do not feel uncomfortable in this at the extent that it was last year.
Right, and finally, just before I do let you go, give us an update about, the counterattack that Ukraine was also undertaking. We did report, was it yesterday, about, we saw some of the troops in cold weather, in their boots, trudging through, snowy conditions, trying to fight, in the battle lines, so to speak. So how is the counterattack going, and how are the troops coping?
According to all the official information we have, it looks like the war is at the stage of position war. So I cannot say that the front line is changing much. Russian forces had certain success in the east. Ukrainian forces had certain success in the south, not much. So it did not really change the situation at the front line. So at this point, we can see that Ukrainian forces create defense lines, and as well as Russian forces create defense lines. And at this moment, as winter is in place, it feels like not much is changing. However, the intensity of the hostilities, especially in the Bakhmut area, which is in the east, and in the south, in the Kherson region, it's very intense. So it's intensifying with day after day, and definitely we cannot say that the front line is calm. It's not. It's very intense, but again, not much is changing in terms of the advance of neither of the sides. Russian forces continue the shelling of Ukrainian infrastructure, especially Ukrainian critical and Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. Unfortunately, some areas are under more attack. Some areas are more safe, but this is happening. What's also probably the latest news that was confirmed officially by the Ukrainian military, that today Ukrainian forces managed to shut down 3 Russian air jets and battle jets, and it's probably one of the biggest success in these past days. However, Russian forces as well had certain success with their attacks, in particular with the drone attack, was the latest one. As we can see, the damage is quite visible in Kyiv, particularly, and in other parts of Ukraine as well.
Right, Anna, thank you for your time today, and please do continue to stay safe out there.
Thank you.